What is up, guys? I'm bringing another casual calm tryhard match, and this time this is going to be some Last of Us gameplay. This is an actual game battle between a team on the ladder that's probably the only good team we faced in the Last of Us GB. There's some pretty good teams on FN too, but maybe it's like one or two, and there's like one good team, maybe two on GameBattles that have actually like particularly posed a threat. And this one in particular, they literally like we didn't really know who they were. They were kind of just a 2-0 team, and like we kind of had this long running joke with like GB when we play pubs. We're like, was that a GB? That was easy. Like we really haven't had much competition when it comes to competitive play on GameBattles. But this team in particular caught us by surprise. The first map was Billstown. We kind of severely underestimated them. As you can see here, we're playing survivors, and I'll be honest, we kind of got ass fucked on Billstown. We literally did not expect them to try as hard as they did. They were actually a fairly competent group of people, and they actually beat us pretty decisively on survivors on Billstown. I think they won 4 rounds, and we might have won 2. Like, it was just like, wow. Like, we really couldn't believe it. Like, we didn't really know who they were, and they literally like came out of nowhere and shocked us. The next match we took a little bit more seriously, considering we like I said, we didn't really think of them as a threat, and ever since this match, this GB in particular, we've kind of had this mantra of we just don't really underestimate any particular people, even if we don't really know exactly who they are. I mean, these guys kind of came out of nowhere, and they actually beat us in a round pretty decisively, and this round in particular was incredibly close as well. I think I managed to do fairly well, and that's why we win. But I think we won 4 rounds, and they won 3, so it easily could have gone either way. And on the last map we played against these guys on GB was Downtown, and that was literally like, I didn't want to upload that or even show you guys that because it was literally a 20-minute camp fest on Downtown. No team was really making any moves, and I think we won 2 rounds barely. Like, I'm not sure if we even got 4 kills. We got like maybe 5 downs tops and maybe 4 kills total. 20 minutes, and it was just super campy. I think eventually they tried to push us and they kind of failed. But like I said, like literally, I don't even know how many rounds we played. As you can see here, there's maybe a potential of 8 rounds, maybe 6, depending on if both teams like win like a round or whatever. But I have no clue how many rounds we played on Downtown. But it was a ridiculous amount of camping. And ultimately, we did edge out the win. But after this GB, we kind of learned our lesson about like underestimating people. Upon closer inspection of the players in this team, we maybe should have figured they were kind of competent, considering one of them pretty high up on the GB rank. So maybe he kind of has some competitive experience. Maybe we kind of initially underestimated them just because we didn't really know them. That circle of tryhards that the Uncharted community, the Last of Us community, basically is. Yes, we kind of know, Art's pretty good, I guess. EMP was a fairly good team as well before like half of their team joined ours. And we don't know these guys, but they're not bad. They actually know how to play fairly well, especially in Survivors. I think that might be the only mode they play Survivors. That's the only mode we played against them. And that's kind of my gripe with GB, because everyone on GB, like all the teams, kind of have like their own rules. Like they play by their own rules. Like, for example, very common rule in Game Battle, which I actually agree with quite a bit, is no armor and no purchasable weapons. I actually like that quite a bit. I'm glad there's no armor and no purchasable weapons, because like I said, FN has no rules, and their kind of concept for why there's no rules is, oh well, you can't really prove it or whatever. And I mean, I have a capture device. I know everyone's not fortunate enough to have a capture device to prove and stuff or whatever, but on GB everyone kind of has their own rules. Like, some people actually don't like the bow. A lot of teams have Molotovs disabled as well. And like when Squid and Triple argue, well, you can't really prove it or whatever, everyone on GB more or less follows the guidelines, the rules. Like, anytime there's no mollies, you don't see anyone using mollies. Anytime you see no armor, no one's using armor. And I find it really surprising and shocking that, like, I don't know, FN's excuses for not, going down a little bit on, rules and banning certain things is simply because you can't prove it. Because from our experience on GameBattles, you can't really prove it. And I think there might have been one GB where we played where the other team broke the rules, and they were getting swamped regardless. Like, they were getting shut out pretty bad. Like, it wasn't even close. So we didn't really care to dispute or anything. And I think there was one time where I think one of my teammates, actually 2 times, accidentally threw a Molotov because they weren't paying attention or something, and we wound up losing a round. That's outside of like these guys, Cruxus and Little Big Boss, who are very, as much as certain people on my team like to, say these guys are actually a fairly good team. They're our only real competition on the ladder. I think after we beat them, they reformed their team on the GB ladder. So they kind of rage quit for a bit, and then they resurfaced, and now they're 2-0 again. Like, they're not really as active as some of the other teams with like much bigger wins. But those teams, we've played them, we've kind of decimated them, and now they really don't want to play us again for some reason or whatever. And that kind of leads to my next point, which is you're really only as good as your competition, and I think that's why like The Last of Us competitively isn't really going anywhere. I mean, on GB we're like 33-0, on like FN we're like 23-5 or something. We've lost, and granted we've lost to some very good teams. So I mean, there's no real shame in losing. At the same time, I do feel like currently, like the competitive community really just isn't picking up on The Last of Us. I'm not sure if it's the fact that, like, I do feel like the pacing of the game definitely might be a factor as to why people don't like it. Maybe they just don't like how, like, on FN in particular, there's just no rules, no holds bars, everything goes. That's kind of gay, honestly, truth be told, and I wish FN would do a little bit more for The Last of Us, but they kind of seem pretty focused on Uncharted or whatever. Uncharted 3, which I think is dog shit, but it's just my opinion. And I feel like The Last of Us it's kind of getting the shaft on the competitive support. I mean, I'm just surprised we've been able to play so many GBs on GameBattles. We've played 33 matches and other teams have played 20. I mean, that's already, our team alone has most likely played more GBs on The Last of Us than the entire teams on Uncharted 3 GB did. I think maybe the top team on GB for Uncharted 3 was EMP, and they might have had like 10 or 11 wins. Everyone else played 1 or 2 matches, and that's it. We've already accumulated 33 wins, and other teams have like 20-ish. So I mean, the activity on The Last of Us on GB definitely is there. I mean, people definitely support it on there, I guess, more or less. On FN, it's kind of been getting the shaft completely. Like, there's just no love, no support. No one's really doing much for it, and I'm not really sure any of the teams want to play anymore. I mean, it's kind of easy to duck on FN, like challenges, whereas on GB there's just this random match finder and you pick it up, so people can't really dodge on GB as easily as they can on FN. But I mean, it is what it is. I'm just kind of disappointed, and I think another reason why it's just not really picking up multiplayer-wise, even though the multiplayer is great in my opinion competitively, it definitely has massive potential, in my opinion, more than Uncharted 3, simply on the fact that you have to aim, and yeah, there's the one-hit melee sticks and mollies are gay, but we can disable mollies. We can turn off purchasables so people aren't camping with shotguns around corners and some cheap antics. We can disable all these things, but the guys on FN are simply just arguing because there's no cinema. You can't really prove it. Maybe we'll get spectator mode down the line. That might be possible. We'll just have to wait and see. But I definitely feel like more could be done in an effort to support this multiplayer. But I think another factor is just the fact that, this is the last stretch of this console generation. I mean, the PS4 is around the corner. I mean, who honestly really cares about this multiplayer in that sense? And I feel like that's a mentality that quite a few people share, and I think that's definitely hurting the multiplayer. Whereas, when Uncharted 2 and 3 came out, it was like maybe 2 or 3, 4, 5 years into the PS3's life cycle, and this console generation has stretched out for quite a bit longer than I thought. And like I said, these multiplayers had time to breathe. The Last of Us is kind of just coming in right before the PS4 comes out. It's hot on the heels of the next generation. And I think that's why a lot of people might not feel a need to invest in this multiplayer all that much, simply because, who cares? We're all gonna not even be playing our PS3s in about a few months. What's really the big deal? Even though the multiplayer itself, like I said, surprisingly is very good, very enjoyable. And I feel like if they added, some additional modes, more options in private games, I feel like this game could definitely, shine competitively. It's not getting the attention it deserves right now. We'll just have to wait and see what Naughty Dog has planned with their little DLC season pass thing they got going on. I know one of it's single player story based, but I think they've confirmed co-op more or less. Like, co-op's definitely gonna happen. They might add new maps. I've been hearing maybe they're gonna add an objective mode. Hopefully they add a new mode. There needs to be at least one new mode in this game. It desperately needs it. Whether not even just co-op, because I know co-ops like it's a no-brainer. You know, against the infected or something. We'll see if that happens. But I feel like they definitely need to add an objective-based mode, a non-kill oriented mode in this game. And I do feel like it works. I feel like, you know, like I said, the supply capture the flaggers thing would work perfectly. Even just one more mode like that. It's kind of, you know, objective based, and it could be played competitively. Like I was kind of shocked. Like obviously in FN, another kind of gripe with it is they only play supply rate, and I'm not really sure why it's like that. I think there's a poll on the forum that people voted, and I think people more or less said they should play Survivor. And if you haven't played Survivor yet, if you're one of those kids who kind of just tries really hard and no life supply rate, give Survivor a try. I thought, you know, it's kind of just like Elimination, so it's kind of like supply rate, except you know have one life. The pacing and how it plays is totally different from supply rate. Supply rate is all about controlling those boxes, you know, making your routes around, being sure to always be, you know, well supplied. Survivor is totally different. It has a totally different pace. There's totally different strategy. It really does play totally different from supply rate, even though they're both kind of killish based modes. Survivor and supply rate really don't play anything alike, especially competitively. Totally different. And I'm really shocked the guys at FN haven't really seen that, and why they're not, you know, playing Survivor and supply rate, like a mix of the two. I'm not really sure what's going on. It kind of gives me, you know, flashbacks of back in the Uncharted days, Uncharted 2, when everyone was just no-lifing TDM. I just don't really understand. I feel like the community is still very immature when it comes to, you know, competitive play. But I mean, hopefully they'll add, maybe on FN they'll add Survivor. Maybe if they add new modes, they'll throw it in there. But right now, FN and The Last of Us is definitely a dead zone. GB is definitely where it's at. Granted, it's kind of annoying because every time I play a GB, I kind of have to ask the rules. I mean, more or less, I usually assume it's no armor and no purchasables, but sometimes kids don't like bows. Sometimes people even ban perks. Mollies are almost always disabled because nobody likes, you know, the molly antics because it's ridiculous. But I mean, there's some slight wrinkles in the rules, but I definitely feel like the no armor, no purchasables things should be an enforced rule on GB. But we'll just have to wait and see. But like I said, I've kind of been enjoying my time at GB. But it's just kind of like what I said. Like, you're only really as good as your competition. And although we've played quite a few matches, most of them have kind of just been landslides, and they've kind of been fairly easy. And I really, really wish the competitive community would, you know, give some more breadth and support, not just, you know, on FN, but maybe on GB more teams sign up. I mean, FN's clearly not really doing anything right now for The Last of Us, so maybe some of the FN teams that want to play should, you know, hop on GameBattles and give it a try or something. And hopefully Naughty Dog does something about this multiplayer soon, some DLC or something, because, I mean, it's still new. There's a lot of, you know, people playing public matchmaking, but my concern, my focus is the competitive side, and I feel like this game has massive competitive potential, way more than Uncharted does. I just feel like Uncharted is just way too scrubbyish at this point with all the blind fire and the whole thing with, you know, the reward system. Granted, you know, you can't buy purchasables and stuff, but you can kind of disable it, and I just feel like it has a really nice tactical team-based, you know, emphasis, and I love that. And I think, like I said, the slow pace might deter some people in the Uncharted community to actually, you know, play it, because like I said, I feel like almost everyone who's like loved the No Life Uncharted 3 basically was super hyped for The Last of Us multiplayer, because I think the general gaming community kind of was just looking forward to the single player, and I was looking forward to as well. But you know, all those diehard Uncharted multiplayer fanboys were super excited for The Last of Us multiplayer, and I think it might not have turned out exactly what they expected. You know, maybe it be the pacing, or how you can see through walls, or whatever. Or, you know, maybe just general stuff that I might have missed. I just feel like some of the people in the Uncharted community definitely haven't fully, you know, felt The Last of Us multiplayer, whereas me, I can safely say I wasn't really excited at first, but once I spent some more time on it, I definitely have fallen in love and definitely love it. I just think it needs a little bit more, you know, customization, a little bit more content. Gameplay-wise, there is nothing wrong with it. But we'll just have to wait and see. I truthfully kind of know there's not really much I can do personally to like move, you know, mountains and stuff, and, you know, get this game the competitive, you know, support and community it deserves, which I feel rightfully so. And it's kind of depressing to know that, even though I clearly wanted to, you know, go somewhere, I'm definitely really passionate about seeing this game take off competitively because it just has so many shades of familiarity with like Counter-Strike or something like Gears of War, slow paced, just like that. It has such a good feel to it. And going back to Uncharted 3 recently, I literally am baffled. People are still playing that game competitively. And I mean, like I said, there's a lot of factors that I feel like that are influencing why this game isn't taking off competitively. But I don't really care what the factors are. I just feel like this game deserves to be played competitively more than it is right now. Even though, like I said, GB is actually a fairly active ladder, more than the Frag Nation ladder, which is supporting Uncharted 3 to this very day. And like I said, that's about it for this commentary. Casual tryhard match. This is a very tryhard GD match. We've actually had some other GD matches that were fairly tryhardy, but I felt like this one was actually kind of a turning point for our team in general, how serious we took our matches on GB, even though most of the teams are kind of, easy, rollovers or whatever. But that's it for this commentary. Feel free to leave your thoughts and comments how you feel about The Last of Us multiplayer, whether it be, just general or competitive play. Obviously, I like to focus on the competitive side of gaming, multiplayer and stuff. But leave your thoughts and comments below in the comments section, and I'll see you guys later. Peace.
You gotta pick that shit up. You gotta fucking pick it up. This is the fucking test, I guess. I gotta make our class. Yeah, we host, so everybody needs Reviver 3, you got me? So we can insta-revive. Insta-revive! Alright. Where is he? Where'd you say he was? He's left side, back from left side, right here under. Right in front of Arbitrust. Right in front of Arbitrust!
That's it. We're done here. Let command know we're coming home.
Good shit, Chris. That's how you know these guys are bad. One of them quit? No. It said like somebody quit. Look at that. Alright.